Now, from the downtown of Northwest Arkansas, in Uptown Rogers, with weather from Bentonville to Fayetteville, Fort Smith, and beyond, here's Oz weather meteorologist, Garrett Lewis.
Hey, good evening, everyone. We're heading into the 5 o'clock hour. Some showers and storms are developing in West Oklahoma. It's going to be an active overnight for us with several rounds of rain that appear likely. The wind potential, as well as hail and tornadoes, is elevated for us. It's not quite as high as it is in Oklahoma, but it's a strong system, and this thing gets here at night. At nighttime, tornadoes are typically the most dangerous because you can't see them coming, right? So have a way to get weather information tonight. You can download a number of apps from many of the local TV stations in the area. You can download the FEMA app. You can turn on the wireless emergency alerts on the oz-weather.com website. I've got instructions on how to turn that on if you don't have it on your iPhone or your Android already. But just have a way to get weather information. Have more than one way. Never just rely on sirens. Frankly, they're kind of antiquated and outdated, and they're meant to be heard outside. They're not meant to be heard inside. So we have that risk of severe weather. Let me break it down and show you kind of what's happening now, what I'm thinking for the overnight, and kind of what my plans are going into the next 24 hours. So here is this is a live look at Embassy's camera there with the RDOT looking northbound. Some heavy traffic heading through the 5 o'clock hour today. You can also see little breaks in the sky here and there on what's otherwise been a fairly warm day. It feels unsettled outside. You can probably tell it's May. This is the time of year when we typically do see the majority of the severe thunderstorms and even tornadoes for us. So I'm going to go over to radar. Let me go full first so we don't get a little too freaked out here in what we're seeing. Okay, full view. Oklahoma, Arkansas, right? So we're going to zoom in here. We have a tornado warning here just west of Enid. These storms are tracking to the east. Now, what's going to happen is these storms are all going to form a line. That line's going to run east and get into our area late tonight. I'm thinking after midnight. First Northwest Arkansas, then the River Valley. Now, look at this storm. These are nasty storms out there. These are strong, probably some very large tornadoes that'll be occurring this afternoon and evening in central Oklahoma. Very classic hook echo. If you're new to the area and you're like, what's a hook? What is this? Well, a lot of folks that have lived here for a long time are pretty weather savvy. But if you're moving from out of town, you don't know what's going on, right? So let's look at this a little bit closer. This is a supercell storm that's west of Fairview, Oklahoma. And what we look for in this are the reds and the greens and yellows wrapped up tight together. And you can see there is some very tight rotation there. If you can isolate the rotation, it's located here. It looks like it's in a rural area. That's always good. And one thing we'll do is we'll check correlation coefficient and we'll look for any debris in the storm that's co-located with the rotation. I don't see any. There may be a couple of vortices there, though. It looks like you got a couple areas spinning. Anyway, all this to say, several storms are likely tonight. They're going to form a line. That line's already trying to take shape out west, and that line will move east and get into our area late tonight, likely after midnight, and those storms will be severe and have that wind damage potential. How big is the severe weather risk today? Oh, we have a 5 on a scale of 1 to 5. We have a high risk. It's the first high risk I've seen this year. I can't even remember when the last high risk was last year. But this is a 5 out of 5 for severity in central and western Oklahoma. So it's a level 5 event here. You can see how the categories start to fall off as you move east. That's because these storms will run into what's called a capping inversion. That's warm air aloft. So the storms should show a weakening trend. Any isolated supercells should keep on trucking, though. They're not going to slow down. The line should weaken as it moves southeast, but the risk of these supercells is going to be with us. I also think by the time, just because I've done this for so long in our area, I've just seen this play out over and over again. You know those spin-up tornadoes on the leading edge of the line? Nope. When we get shear like this, it's real easy to get these spin-ups. You got the instability. You may not have the supercell, but you can get rotation pockets on the leading edge of the line. In addition to that, not only those leading edge tornadoes, you could actually get some deep rotation in the line tonight because of the amount of instability and shear. So it's pretty much off the charts for us as far as a classic severe weather setup goes. Matter of fact, I might be able to show you. Yeah, there's the surface chart for today. So you have the dry line that's out there in central Oklahoma, that low pressure in Kansas, that's swinging east. So the severe weather is most common. The biggest tornadoes typically near the low pressure, east of the cold front, along the dry line, and south of the warm front. There's something we call the triple point, where you have the cold front, the warm front, and the dry line all meeting near the low. And what you know what that's where those storms are developing right now in northwest Oklahoma. Thing is, that front's going to run east later tonight. As it moves east, it gets into the area and causes those showers and storms to break out even more into our region. This is another look at it here. There's going to be all kinds of, I'm sure, storm chaser video later on today from these folks who are out here looking at this. There's the line that's taking shape out to the west. This is the radar site that's out there at Vance Air Force Base. Let me switch you up here. I'm going to kind of show you a bigger view of what's taking place here with some cloud cover and zoom out a little. I think this will maybe give you an idea of how this is unfolding here. So remember, we have that low pressure that's out here in southwest Kansas. That line's starting to take shape. You can see this little pink box here. This is the high risk area. So that does include the Oklahoma City metro. The moderate risk includes the city of Tulsa. It goes up to the state line. The enhanced risk includes Fayetteville, Bentonville, Rogers, Fort Smith on the edge of this thing. And then as you travel eastward and you get into Clarksville, we should see that weakening trend farther east. Doesn't mean we won't get severe storms in that area, but the trend should be for weakening as that line eventually gets here later on tonight. So let's talk timing. I've got two different model charts pulled up here for you, and I'll go hour by hour and kind of show you how this plays out. So this is 8 o'clock tonight. The storm should be rolling into Oklahoma City, Stillwater, Ponca City. That line of storm should be underway with embedded supercells. There's also the risk we could get some pop-up storms locally. Now, I'll go back to analyst real quick just to check it out and show you. Let's switch radar sites to SRX, which is the Fort Smith radar. Then we'll check INX. We have a couple of returns. I've seen some here in southeast Oklahoma, and there's one that's located in northern Pope County. So far, so good. There's nothing out there that's causing any problems. I'll switch radars to INX. This is Tulsa's radar, which has better coverage here of Benton County, as does SGF, which is Springfield. And looking here and see if we can get any returns. Just got that one return that's out there in Pope County. And on the last scan, it may have weakened a little bit too. So that's going to be something to watch until this bigger line starts to move in. So back to this. This is the 8 o'clock tonight. Again, we'll be watching for any storms. Whether or not these actually develop, who knows? Still up in the air. A lot of times the atmosphere this time of year can pop. Sometimes it doesn't. We know that the front will pop the atmosphere. It'll break the cap, as will some of these daytime heating warming the ground and busting up through the cap. That's what's going on in Oklahoma. So we've got our line, right? Let's track this thing. Why don't we stop at, what do you say, midnight tonight? Let's see where this thing is at midnight. Right there. So we've got it starting to move into Benton County. Now this, I want to point out too, is the North American model. I'm going to show you two different model simulations here. What we do as meteorologists, we take them all into account to get an idea of how this is going to play out. So this is midnight. You can see a line moving into northwest Arkansas, even some storms in the Fort Smith area. And then by the time we get into 1, 2, and 3 a.m., another line moves into Fort Smith. This is late tonight, probably coming up on 3 or 4 in the morning as that second line gets in. That's the North American model as it moves in. Hey, and I'm not sure if it runs out as far. Let's see here. It doesn't go quite. Yeah, it does. Okay, so guys, Wednesday, there's another front moving in. This is also going to have a severe threat. It's going to be earlier in the day on Wednesday, so it might be afternoon, school time-ish. So that's something to keep an eye on. But the main event tonight is this line that's going to come barreling through. Now I'm going to switch over to the high-resolution rapid refresh model. This one is, I'm going to go right ahead to midnight, just like we just did. It's very similar on timing. It's actually a little bit slower. You can see the line from Joplin out through Oklahoma City, maybe making out two little segments here, two bow segments. It's interesting to me how the model is initializing and resolving some of these little bends in the line. I'm wondering if these could be updrafts. So that's something to keep an eye on. Pockets of rotation on the line. This stretches from just east of Oklahoma City into northeast Oklahoma. Again, the time on this is midnight. The high-res data gets this in later. It's coming up closer to about 1 or 2 in the morning, and then closer to 2 or 3 in Fort Smith before it finally moves on out. I think it's gone by sunrise. So this is an overnight event. Again, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have a way to get weather information when this thing comes crashing in tonight along that front. So given the nature of the threat, as well as the see where the line is, now look at the severe weather setup area. You can see how that line leans in and then weakens as it moves towards Russellville and central Arkansas. I don't think we have much of a threat in Little Rock at all, or even up there towards Batesville. Pine Bluff, not a big deal, even Arkadelphia. But when you get into Fort Smith, especially up and down the I-49 corridor where we live, yes, we're going to have that severe weather risk heading into the overnight and the first part of the day. So I'll be watching some of this later on this evening. I am a loan officer at F&B NWA, so I have a day job as well. So I'm not going to be staying up all night long, but I will jump on as some of these storms move through the area, especially as I see some of these storms that may have a higher end tornado risk. I'm going to be up anyway. Got a family to watch and protect, right? I don't have any I don't have any backup power. So that could be fun tonight. We'll see how it goes in Rogers, where I'm going to be broadcasting from. But there will be storms that move through first Northwest Arkansas, then the River Valley. Key in on the time frame around midnight 1 for when they arrive. 2 to 4 is prime time when the storms are really hitting. All severe weather threats are there. Hail, damaging winds, tornadoes, supercells, spin up tornadoes, you name it. It's May. This is the time of year when things typically do go a little bananas and a little bonkers. But I just got home from work and I was taking a look at the weather and thought I'd share some of what I was seeing with you. Keep an eye on it tonight. Have multiple ways to get weather information. If the dogs flip out in the storms, have a plan for them. For the kids, this time of year, if you don't already have a tornado shelter in your home, it's always a good idea to put some blankets in there, even some coloring books for the young kids. They get a little bit scared in this stuff. I don't blame them. Some of these storms are really loud that move through. But overnight, you're going to have the kids waking up, the pets waking up. You'll be waking up to all the thunder that's out there, and these storms are going to pack a pretty big punch as they move through the Ozarks later on this evening and move through Green Country tonight and this evening in northeast Oklahoma. I'll keep watching it now. In central Oklahoma and western Oklahoma, I know my good friend Zachary Hall, Arkansas storm chaser. He's watching it too. I've been communicating with him. We're both looking at that tornado threat for northwest Arkansas being much higher than even parts of Fort Smith or even southeast Oklahoma. So we'll see how this is going to shake out. It's going to depend on how these supercells evolve over time and then start to slide into our area. I may jump back on for another update later on this evening. I'm going to get on supper time with the kids here in a second, make dinner, and we'll see how this thing plays out in Oklahoma. Of course, watch the local news in the area. I know many of the meteorologists, Scott Covert over at 5, who just started, a good friend of mine, Dan Scoff, one of the best human beings I've ever met. He'll be tracking these tonight, as will Darby Bybee over on 4029. So there's several different local news agencies to keep an eye on this evening, all very talented meteorologists, and you should have many different ways to get that weather information, whether it's a local TV app, whether it's the Oz Weather app. The Oz Weather app, by the way, doesn't push out warnings yet. I'm working on that. We'll see how that comes along through time. But again, another app, even the Weather Channel app, will send all those warnings to your phone. Just make sure it's on loud tonight. And if there is a tornado and you see someone in the path of it, a loved one or a friend, it's always a good idea to give them a call. A lot of the social science studies have shown that people need a second confirmation before they actually take shelter. That was one of the things I worked on with my graduate degree, was severe weather and social science. It's fascinating to see, but before most people take shelter, they need to confirm it. They get it first. You may hear it from me, you may hear it from Dan or Scott or Darby, but you have to confirm it before you take shelter. It's just the nature of us humans. A lot of ways we can do that is flipping the channel. We can look on our phone. We can call a friend. If you get that second confirmation, though, that's usually when people take shelter and take these things a little bit more seriously. So I'll be watching it tonight, guys. Buckle up. It's going to be a rough one here. It is May. This is prime time for severe weather season. When I was in TV, I always told myself, hang in there, because when time June gets here, we get these overnight storms, but that tornado threat really starts to lessen, and it's nearly gone by July. So really for the next 30 or 40 days is the time frame we've got to watch for this stuff. Hopefully just 20 as we head into the end of the month, and 20, 25 days. What are we, May 6th? So yeah, it'll be Memorial Day before you know it. All right, guys, thanks for joining me this evening. Just wanted to do an update. I thought it was a quick update. It was 13 minutes long. They don't hold me to 3 minutes anymore. I can just talk all night. I'll see you guys back here later on this evening. Stay safe, stay weather aware, and as Mom used to say, stay alert, you won't get hurt.